The next guest on Smarter San Diego is our multi-family apartment building connection. Please welcome back to the show, Walter Lepe, and his special guest, housing expert, Ruben Islas.
All right, welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, thank you.
What's up? How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Walter, good to see you again, my friend.
Thank you.
You wanted to bring Ruben in today. Tell us why.
Yeah, of course. I want to bring Ruben in just because he's an expert in affordable housing, and there's a huge crisis here in California and San Diego, especially. We don't have enough affordable units, so I wanted to bring Ruben in just to kind of highlight what's going on, the issue at hand, and any answers that could basically resolve what's going on here with the housing issue.
Yeah, I'm curious, Ruben. Thanks for coming, by the way.
Sure.
What does affordable housing mean? I don't know if a lot of people understand that.
Yeah, there's a history to it. It used to be where it was Section 8 housing. I think everyone's pretty familiar with Section 8 housing, which had a HUD component to it. That was actually eradicated a long time ago. So now, for affordable housing, there's a partnership between the federal government and individual states. The state of California and the federal government work together to create units that are rented to people at a reduced rent based on certain income qualifications.
Gotcha.
So in San Diego, if you make less than $50,000 a year, you can move into an affordable unit and pay around $1,000 a month for a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom unit.
Wow.
It's a great project, yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So that's obviously needed because it's expensive to live here.
Yeah, there's a huge crisis. Well, the problem is we're losing the brain trust. I mean, we are educating all these young people who can't afford to live in San Diego. But you think about it, it's our firefighters, anybody making less than $50,000 a year. I think that's a lot of people, right? So one of the biggest issues we're having is for baby boomers because they're getting older and they need caregivers. Our caregivers can't afford to live in San Diego. They have to leave. So they're leaving for Austin, they're leaving for other places in Texas, they're leaving for other states. So the state of California is in an absolute crisis to try to retain our talent.
And so when it comes to this, there's a state law, right, that requires each city to have a certain amount of units that are, but I don't know if anyone's enforcing it or not. I mean,
They are. The problem is this. There was a big lawsuit in Los Angeles by a developer who will remain nameless, and he won in California State Supreme Court that he didn't have to provide affordable housing.
Really?
Yeah, so that was humongous. There's a big loss
Ouch.
for the affordable housing advocates. So one of the incentives that has been approved by the state of California is that now they're saying, okay, we understand that we've lost this battle, but the war can be won in a bigger way. And the bigger way it can be won is simply this. If you work with us to create units, us being the state and affordable housing developers like me, to try to create units, we will work with you in giving you incentives that can make working in a market rate environment and an affordable housing environment exactly the same for a seller. That's huge.
So hold on. So you're telling me if I own a multi-unit building, for example, I want to create affordable housing units. I don't have to sell it at a discount?
You don't. You used to, it was a bit of a battle. Well, interest rates are very low. We all know what's happening. So prices of apartment complexes have become very high. The state couldn't compete. The federal government couldn't compete.
Makes sense.
So we weren't creating enough units. We need an immediate delivery of units in the state of California of 50,000 units.
Right now?
Immediately. Today. Okay? But what they've done is that they've made some changes along with federal government to allow affordable housing developers to compete and in many cases surpass a market rate buyer.
How?
What they have done is they have allowed private companies, Google, Verizon, Nationwide Insurance, who are some of our clients, to come in and purchase tax credits from the federal government that are allocated by a state agency. We then use that as equity, combined with a tax-exempt note from Bank of America, Union Bank, to come in and combine those two sources to drop rents for renters and purchase properties at fair market value from someone like you, right, who would be like, I want to do the right thing, I want to help out, help solve this crisis, but you can't leave money on the table. I mean, we're all human.
Right.
Right.
You don't have to anymore. Now, we can do both.
That's incredible.
It is. It's
Right.
really great. It's great news. It really is great.
We need 50,000 units like yesterday.
Yeah.
So this is a great opportunity, Voltaire, for people who not just want to do the right thing. Maybe people say, hey, it might be top of the market. I want to sell my building. I think there's a high demand for multi-units. And I'd like to do the right thing,
Right.
If I could. This would be a great opportunity for them.
Yeah, this would be a great opportunity for them to basically cash out on their property if they're thinking about selling, or even if they're not thinking of selling and they're just thinking of, helping in California and just retain, like you mentioned, teachers, writers, artists, people that really contribute to society. I think a big stigma that affordable housing has is it's people that maybe don't care or don't have jobs and things like that, but it's far from that. So this is a perfect time that they could contribute, and even if they don't end up selling or they don't want to sell, they could partner up with Ruben, and Ruben could basically help them convert their deal into affordable
That's
housing.
another great point. The state of California, along with the federal government, has now allowed a seller to both sell at fair market and be on the purchasing side in the partnership.
No kidding.
Yes, because it's such a need. So they're doing everything, bending over backward to solve this issue. So I can come to you, we can cut a deal, right? I'm going to buy your property through a new limited partnership, okay? And you do an exchange, whatever you need to do for tax purposes, but you're going to be partners with me in this new affordable housing project.
That's incredible.
It is incredible.
I wish I owned an apartment building. I mean, because there's certain times when there's a need,
Yes.
and then the government steps in, and the way that they solve problems is by throwing money at it.
Right.
Okay, it's not always the right solution, but in this case, it's really, really good because it allows people to get the best of both worlds. I mean, you never get that in real estate, Voltaire.
No, you don't. And just to emphasize on exactly how big the crisis is, have you ever tried renting a property?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we do property management, and as soon as we put a sign up, we get 30 to 40 phone calls within a couple of days. Okay, and then from there we get all the emails from online advertising and things like that. What it makes it almost impossible for the tenant to get it at an affordable price. Number one, they have a lot of competition. Number two, an average unit in San Diego, for example, in the year 2000 was $1,000 a month. Now it's $1,700 a month. And people's incomes, they're not at that level. They're not catching up to how fast rents are increasing. So, at the end of the day, I mean, it's a really big crisis. And Point Loma Nazarene University came out with a study recently that said in order to catch up with the number of units that San Diego needs, we need to be building 11,000 new homes a year. We're only at 5,500 so far this year.
Wow. Well, and the other opportunity here is landowners. There are a lot of people who own land, and for whatever reason, it's too small, it's too big, whatever the case may be. Part of this new program, and what's really a very important opportunity to understand here, is that because of the changes that they've made, that the state and the federal government have made, they make it possible now for affordable housing developers to build new construction and work with owners. So if you own a piece of land, right, you're like, well, what should I do with it? Give us a call. We can analyze it. We can take a look at it for you. If it qualifies for affordable housing, then between Google, let Google pay, right? Between Google, Bank of America, we'll put together a limited partnership that will develop your project. Google gets a mortgage payment. Bank of America gets a mortgage payment. Google gets a tax credit. The state of California gets new units, and you get the cash flow.
Wow. That's just incredible.
It is incredible. It
What
is
a
incredible.
win-win. So if I'm an apartment owner or a land owner or just a multi-unit building owner, I can call you, I can call or text the number on the screen right now.
Right.
And what'll happen?
Well, what we'll do is we will get your information, right? We'll get an address. We'll take it now with Google Maps. I'm doing a lot of marketing for Google.
You don't need to. You don't need to. Don't worry.
What we'll do within 24 to 48 hours is that we will contact you. We'll take a look. We'll do an analysis. And No games here. This is very straightforward. This is not, it's very all set in stone. They made it very black and white. We will be able to tell you what we can pay for your property, what the closing period will be, and we will give you the opportunity to sit down and discuss it with us if you'd like, and if not, we can communicate with you via email. But it's very straightforward. We can let you know what we can do together to try to solve this crisis.
Yeah, and it really is a big deal here, especially in San Diego. It's tough when we see it right in our own backyard, people who just can't afford to live here anymore. I mean, I see it every day on Facebook. I'm packing up, now we're leaving. I'm headed to Texas, or we're headed to Ohio. Just couldn't take it anymore. You see it every day. I mean, it's really a big deal. So it's great that you guys are out there doing this great work in the community. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, really appreciate it. And Voltaire, great idea for today's show, because I have never heard in all of my years in the real estate world, we're talking about 12 years, not that long, but I've never heard of such a win-win-win all the way around like this before. I mean, never heard of anything like this. So for us to be able to get this message out and to be able to promote this to people who are property owners and who have land, I think this is going to help create a situation, a circumstance where we could potentially solve, or at least start to peck away at the solution for this housing crisis in California.
And I completely agree, and that's why I asked Ruben to come on, because he's an expert. He's developed over 5,000 units, and he knows what he's doing, and I wouldn't have brought on anyone else that isn't, him, and just because of the experience that he has.
Okay, fantastic stuff, guys. Really appreciate your time. Thank you for being
here. Thank you.
Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free.